going to be talking about how to get an apartment in Spain. So I feel like I am uniquely qualified to talk about this because I have just spent the last 2 weeks of my life spending every waking minute that's not working or like eating just on my laptop on these apartment websites, just typing, sending messages, and making phone calls. And let me tell you, it's not that much fun. I've also spent a lot of time visiting apartments, which is kind of fun, but also not really. Like, I'm just very excited. But I finally have one, and I'm moving into it tomorrow. But right now I want to make this video just to give you guys a couple of tips, especially if you're an Auxiliares de conversación and you're going to be moving here to Spain. I know that there are a lot of videos about this, but I really felt like all they did was like provide you with resources to like look at apartments, but they didn't really give you any tips about how to actually go about getting the apartment, that process. So that's what I'm gonna try to do today. So starting off, one of the things you'll probably find in a lot of the other videos are just websites to use, but I'll list them here anyways. So some of the websites that I used and were recommended to me: Idealista, Habitacia, Piso Compartido, and Fotocasa. These are the main 4 that I was using when I was looking for an apartment, doing my apartment search. But then also, I've also heard of people using Facebook and Airbnb, but I wouldn't 100% bank on those. Yeah, so I'm just gonna stick to the 4 that I know. It looks like the lighting has changed, so I think I'm gonna move a little bit. Spot's dusty. Okay, so a big issue that I ran into and that I think a lot of people talked about as well: living alone versus living with roommates. Me personally, I am planning on living with roommates, and I did that for a couple of reasons. And I also recommend moving with roommates if you're planning on moving to Spain as an Auxiliares de conversación. For a couple of reasons. Number one, because unless you're Spanish or you're already from the European Union and you're moving to Spain, you're most likely not going to have that many friends or know that many people who are living in Spain already. So it's going to be a really easy way, especially if you're moving into an apartment with Spaniards. It's going to be a really easy way to make friends and meet new people, which is what I'm planning on doing. I met some guys, some Spaniards, and they live here. They already know a lot of people. So it'll make my transition process a lot easier, and I'll already have access to a group of friends, and I'll have like a better experience because I'll be speaking primarily in Spanish because the guys I'm moving with don't actually speak English, which is super cool for me because I'm looking to really take my Spanish to the next level. So reason number 2, which should probably be reason number 1, but it's whatever, this is how I wrote the list, is because it's going to be way more expensive to live alone than it is to move in with people. Like even in a big city like Sevilla, like I can't really speak for Madrid or Barcelona because I'm not there, but I imagine that things are pretty similar in the sense that like it's a big city, but if you move in with people, like you have 2 or 3 at most roommates, your rent's really not going to be a crazy amount unless you're living in like a super expensive, super bougie building, you know? But like that being said, like I was looking at some apartments and I was thinking about moving in on my own, and it really was just like, I didn't want to do it just because it was going to be expensive. And I was going to end up paying about like 150 to 200 more euros a month than I would if I end up moving where I am now. They're going to be like your utilities, right? So your utilities are going to be typically, like I haven't lived here yet, this is what I've been told, they're going to average about like between like electricity, lights, water, all that stuff. It's going to average about 100 extra euros a month. So if you're living by yourself, you're going to have to take it on by yourself, which, you know, it'll probably be less, but if you're living with other people, again, you can share that expense, and it's not going to be as much when it's broken down per person, which is nice. I do have one big caveat to the whole moving with roommates thing. You really want to make sure you can vet them. If it's at all possible, it's something that you really want to do. Number 1, just for like safety reasons. But then number 2, just because like people can really seem pretty cool online before you meet them in person. Example. So I saw this apartment on Idealista. I was up there, I was like messaging the guys, got their WhatsApp, we were talking on WhatsApp. He's like, oh yeah, it's like 2 other Italian guys, super great location right next to the train, super cool, good looking apartment. I show up and the apartment is just like, the photos, super clean, look great. But then the actual apartment was just like so grimy and dirty, and I was like, ah, it sucks. But then the biggest thing on top of that was that like the guys just smoked in the house. Like they smoked cigarettes constantly. You guys failed to mention that you're dirty and that you smoke cigarettes online, so that really sucks. It's a big deal breaker for me. So that sucks because it was a great location. Would have been paying like it was less than what I'm at right now, but I was like again, like two things that I would recommend paying more for in terms of like moving to Spain would be living in the city center because you want to have like a Spanish experience. You want to be living in a Spanish city, so pay like $50 to $100 more a month. Because it's going to put you in the city center because it's really going to be worth it. It's going to be a huge difference. Like I found some cool 1-bedrooms, but they were like a half hour away from the city center by bike. And I was like, I don't want to do that. That's just going to suck. So pay a little bit more for that, or pay a little bit more just to make sure that you're with people who you feel comfortable, who you like, and you're not going to be miserable the whole time. Because I know if I would have moved in with those guys, like it would have been a terrible experience. I would have hated every second of it. So I'm really glad that I made the decision that I did. Moving on, and by moving on, let's move to another location, So, last but not least, I want to provide you guys with just a couple of tips that I personally used when I was contacting landlords or just people that have ads on Idealista, Habitacia, Piso Compartido, all these things. My number one tip would be if you are able to, call them on the phone and talk to them. If your Spanish is at a high enough level where you feel comfortable doing that, you should 100% do that. If you can't, the next best thing, like if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or your Spanish isn't at that level yet, I would really say next best thing is if they have their phone number on there, see if they're on WhatsApp. They probably are. Everybody in Spain's on WhatsApp. And if they are, just shoot them a message on WhatsApp explaining who you are, and then like that you're looking to see if the whatever it's called, if the room or the apartment is available. So the last thing that I would recommend doing, if you don't want to call and you don't want to send them a WhatsApp, the last thing I would recommend doing is like sending them a message through the website, like Idealista, Habitacia. You can always do that, but like the truth is, like they really suck at responding. Like I did get responses off there, but the majority of the time the responses are either going to be like a day or two late, later after you send the message, and like someone's already called them and set it up and gone and seen it by the time they respond to you, or it's going to be they just never respond, which the vast majority of people just didn't respond on there. But then when I would call them, they'd answer, and then that's what makes it work. So, like, yes, do that, but I would say there are other more effective methods, right? So, if you are planning on calling, here's what I would recommend you saying. So, what you do is you call them. Buenas, yo soy Benjamin. Estoy buscando por the person's name on the ad. Estoy buscando por Fernando sobre el anuncio que tiene en Idealista. Yo quiero saber si la habitación o el piso está disponible todavía. Boom. So right there, you hit them with that from the get-go. It's straight to the point. You say who you are. You say why you're calling, right? So essentially what you're saying is, my name is Benjamin. I'm looking for this person who has the ad on Idealista or Habitacia or Piso Compartido. For this room to share or for this piso, this flat, and I want to know if it's still available, right? So when you say that, it's straight to the point. They're either going to say like one of two things, and you'll be like, oh, disculpa, pero ya no es disponible. And then you're like, okay, gracias, chao, tenga buen día. Or the second thing they're going to say is like, oh, sí, la habitación sigue disponible. ¿Tú quieres verla? And you're like, oh, of course. A mí me gustaría muchísimo ver la habitación. ¿Cuándo puedo ir? And then from there, you got to try and it's going to be a little different from there if they have that. But you can say like, oh, like if you don't feel too comfortable with Spanish, you can say, oh, puedo escribirte sobre like una cita para ver la habitación, el piso, por WhatsApp. And they're like, oh yeah, sounds great. So last thing, in terms of tips, I would say number one, call them if you can. That's going to be the most effective, the most responses, right? And then number two would be send them a WhatsApp message if you don't feel comfortable calling. And then the last one would be to send them a message or an email through the website. But that one's going to be the least effective, right? So obviously, I'm currently in Seville, or Seville, and it is a big city. It's got almost 1 million people, but it's not Madrid, it's not Barcelona, so I can't really speak to what it is at those big cities or what it's like in smaller cities, right? But here, there's a huge housing shortage. Everybody wants to get an apartment, but there's just not enough apartments. So you're going to be having to really be on the website constantly. I would recommend checking it every single day, because like every day there would be 2 or 3 new listings, and I would be like, oh shit, gotta jump on it. And the apartment that I ended up getting, I got because I was the second or third person to contact them, and he was like, oh, I have like over 1,000 like emails, like messages from the thing. And I was like, Jesus, it's crazy. So people are really fighting out here. It's really tough to get an apartment. So the big thing is just like be consistent, be early, and be available. When you're making your appointment, you want to make your appointment as early as possible, because apartments really go fast, right? So I had an appointment to see a room at I think it was 1 or 2 p.m. and someone saw it at 11 a.m. and they did the paperwork, signed everything, done. They had the room before my appointment at 2 o'clock. I'm like, oh, sorry, cancel your appointment because the room's not available. So it's like things really do go fast here. So you really want to move quick, get an earlier appointment if you really like the place. Ask them when's the earliest you want to do it, But I mean, here in Andalusia, things start pretty late. So you're probably going to earliest be 10, 11 a.m. Outside of that, I would say don't let out. Some landlords are going to be really pushy and really be trying to hype it up. And I remember I went to go check out one, and the toilet, they didn't flush. And I was like, yo, what's up with this? Are y'all gonna fix that? And they're like, yeah, we'll fix it. I was like, no, I'm not moving in here. This is trash. So you really gotta be don't let the landlord sell you on something that you're not totally interested in, or you don't like, or you don't feel comfortable with, right? So if it feels like it's too much money, be like, I'm sorry, I like it, but it's too much money. Or if you're like, this place is disgusting, it smells like cigarettes, don't want to live here, be straightforward. Don't try to lie to people and try and hide things. Just be very upfront, like you would with any apartments. The same thing here in Spain. Yeah. And then let's move to another location for the next part. Well, anyways, those are all the tips that I have for looking for an apartment in Spain. Feel free to follow me on Instagram @thebenbird. Shoot me a DM there if you have any questions about becoming an Auxiliares conversación, or moving to Spain, getting an apartment, or just comment down below. And then please be sure to give this video a like, and definitely subscribe for more content coming soon. I'll be making a lot of videos about being an Auxiliares conversación here in Spain, videos about travel, lifestyle, minimalism, fitness, all these things. So just be on the lookout for that. We'll do it all soon. So for right now, I'm gonna hang on this hammock. Alright. Now you're just thinking, I feel like I'm over here now. Alright. Can't take you anywhere.